Trent Alexander-Arnold is an amazing creative player with real defensive deficiencies, so why doesn't Jurgen Klopp just play him in midfield? Well, he's sort of started to do that. So they've done this thing where the back four becomes a three, similar to what you see from Man City and Arsenal a lot, and then Alexander-Arnold tucks in from the right back into this position here, so it becomes part of a double six, we call it, and ahead of them, then get a bit of a box midfield, which is very useful for build-up, things like that. But from these positions, it means that Alexander-Arnold can be like Andrea Pirlo and use his amazing skill set of long passes to hit someone making a run up the wing, maybe Jota or Robertson if he goes, when the shape changes, or he can ping it to the other side if Salah goes there, or when Salah moves inside, then Henderson might be out here, and this is good because it means that the players higher up the pitch, leaving space behind, are the ones who are already higher up the pitch. So players who are defensive are deeper to protect against people trying to attack them. Another thing is that he can also play these brilliant passes that go through the lines to help Liverpool progress the play. Then when he gets to the final third, it's all different, and he can start trying to influence the game from positions higher up the pitch, maybe central positions here, like the kind of Pirlo player, deep line playmaker, or go into the right half space or the wing, because he rotates with these players here, Salah and Henderson. These players all swap around to make sure that one's wide, one's in the half space, one's in the central space, and that's how they play. That's what they sort of do. And we know it works because data shows us. Look how lovely this looks. All the arrows, all of the time. This shows that Trent Alexander-Arnold is controlling the game against Leeds, is dictating play. See those positions he's picking up the ball in the midfield, really controlling the game. So why doesn't he just get moved into midfield? Why doesn't he play there if he's so good at it? Well, it's all to do with how Jurgen Klopp wants his team to function, how he wants to create chances, and where he wants to win the ball back. Because he said in the past, no playmaker in the world can be as good as a good counter-pressing. What does he mean? Well, this is what Liverpool's team looks like generally, right? It's changed over time, but it's a 4-3-3. So when you push this team up, the midfield in particular is there to win the ball back, because your creative players are Salah, Gakpo, Jota, the three forwards, and then the fullbacks either side. These guys protect and help recycle the ball. These guys are there to win the ball back. And the profile of player, Fabinho is like an anchor, a destroyer. Henderson is very much a box-to-box, ball-winning midfielder, very busy. Jones is functioning like that as well. They're very good players. That's what the midfield does in Klopp's team. In the past, as we know, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, hugely important to Liverpool. And then there's been seasons where they've had all the assists for the team, all the chances created from these wide areas. And that's when Liverpool are great. Flood in the middle, very narrow, so when the ball is lost in these central areas, they can pounce on it in a counter press and create a chance that way. That's what he means by the counter press being so useful as a playmaker. But teams, to stop and like kind of slow Liverpool down, change the way they defended against them. So they'd have a back four maybe, but that would quite easily, quite quickly become a back five to stop Robertson, and some teams even blocked like this in the back six. Watford did this once actually. And so the back six locks down these two wide players, which makes them less efficient because they've got a player marking them, so they have to go backwards, and that was a problem that Jurgen Klopp had to solve, and he solved it by changing the way it works and making this midfield rotation of Henderson, Salah and Alexander-Arnold that would move around and be a bit more unpredictable. So you get Alexander-Arnold might move into the half space here with Henderson, who then might move wide. Salah might swap with Henderson like this. And so in this position, of course, Alexander-Arnold is a bit more of a midfielder already when they move them out like this. So you then get a bit of creativity from this position. It's something very useful when you can play balls like this to the back post. Maybe you still get Robertson getting in the back post here, or Jota, something like that. And all this worked in the past because the counter press was so good. Their frontline press was great. The midfield functioned to squeeze the pitch and win the ball back. And so they had these spaces protected mostly because they'd win the ball back at source, stopping it early. Now this season the press hasn't worked well at all. It's been one of their big problems. And John McKenzie's done a great video on our channel, Tifo IRL, all about that. Yes, you should watch it, very good. And so because that press hasn't been working, teams have been able to get in behind Alexander-Arnold when he's pushed up either midfield or wide. And what they'll often do is stick a winger on him, or they'll double up. Say he's defending, you'll often get two players doubling up on him, which is obviously very hard. Any player in the world will struggle 2v1. That's an issue. What they'll also do is they'll focus their build-up play on this side of the pitch, then they'll get a switch pass from here, and when they're defending in a three, someone will get in behind Alexander-Arnold here. He's not the best at reading these long passes or aerial passes like that, and it's been an issue for Liverpool for a while, and that's where his deficiencies really stand out. And so to fix this, they've moved his position from being higher to being slightly deeper. So you'll see him build up especially. Often what you'll get is a back three of these guys, like this, so he can then dictate play from deeper and keeping a playmaker from this area here, while other players are higher up the pitch. But because the counter press isn't working as well, teams are having more of the ball and more chances to attack Liverpool. So the deficiencies are more exposed because they have more chances to go at him. And another thing you'll get is when he is pushed up, is Konate is now playing like a really aggressive ball winner. So if they're pushed right up like this, of course Liverpool's very narrow here, and Alexander-Arnold is wide like this, often just to the side of them. If the ball goes loose here, he will push up to try and win it, which then leaves a massive big space between Van Dijk, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, and you'll see this quite often. These gaps appear and teams just zip through it, and that's another way that they've been conceding goals on the counter-attack. And so that's an example of another adjustment Klopp has made to make up for deficiencies that Alexander-Arnold has, or the fact that other teams are then targeting him. But you see, if Konate's pushing up like this, leaves that big gap. But if Alexander-Arnold comes here, this is the new thing they started doing. Konate starts a bit wider, is more like the right back and the centre back, and that gives him a bit more protection. So then why doesn't Klopp just move him into these positions where he's in midfield the whole time? Why can't he just play as a midfielder? Well, he's best when he has space and time. Alexander-Arnold is great when he has space to look up and ping these cross-field passes like that. That's the thing he's amazing at. He's basically a bit like David Beckham on the right wing, where you can look up, ping across from here, and that'll be a chance created. When you get to these lines here, at the final stage of the pitch, again, perfect. You can play these balls like Beckham. So you've got Beckham, you've got De Bruyne from here, and then you've got Pirlo from these places in space. That's what he needs, is space and time. And if you're playing in midfield, it's very congested. If you put him in where Henderson is and take him out, what you then get is Alexander-Arnold surrounded by opposition players. So you've got to be really sharp on your feet and turn and quick and go. Now that's the kind of skill set that someone like Bernardo Silva is good at. Really quick and nimble, can turn instantly, knows where everything is, and can go like that. So that's not really what he's best at. He's best at looking up and hitting a pass. And also, when it comes back to how Klopp wants his midfield to work, Klopp doesn't play with a deep-lying playmaker. He plays with a destroyer and anchor. So if you have Fabinho here, it means that when the centre-backs are split and you're moving up the pitch, he can drop in as an extra defender, or he can break play up here. Alexander-Arnold's not the best at breaking up play, so if you take him out and put him here, suddenly you have a bit of a defensive weakness in the middle of your structure. That's not perfect either. And if you play him as maybe the left player, box to box, again, it's not really his skill set because he won't have space because he's running into busy areas where he's maybe not quite as good. But if you play him at right back, it means you don't have to get another right back in who isn't quite as good creatively. And he has the space to move into to be able to play as a right midfielder, as a winger, and as this player in deep positions, because from right back, you tend not to have a man marker and you can move into these positions. And so if you move him from right back into that midfield position, it means you can move the other midfielder, Fabinho, up the pitch slightly more to help with the counter press. You get more bodies there, and he has time and space to dictate play from the middle of the pitch. And we saw it against Leeds, the 6th goal that Liverpool scored. Here he is in the middle of the pitch. Van Dijk and Konate squeezing up. That's what they're trying to do. Everyone's nice and bunched together. Everyone else is forwards, either taking a man out of the way, or there for a passing option, or there to counter press. Alexander-Arnold receives the ball in the centre circle, takes the ball forward. Bad pressure from Leeds, so it's their fault as well. But as you can see from here, once he gets the ball in this position, like Pirlo, Nunez spots it as well. Nunez sees he's about to do something special, carries the ball a bit, and that's when you get this amazing pass through over the top. Nunez gets in behind, and Liverpool score their 6th. And so to do this, Alexander-Arnold needs the space and time to be able to pick these passes. A different sort of player to someone like Bernardo Silva, like we said, who's very good in these tight spaces. A different sort of profile, needs to be deeper. But Klopp's midfield doesn't have a deep playmaker. He doesn't want to play through the lines of defenses like that. He wants the midfield to squish up, win the ball back, and that is his playmaker for the strikers who are further forward up the pitch. That's what he's got. And Alexander-Arnold is a bit like Beckham, also like Pirlo, also like De Bruyne in certain areas of the pitch. And you get all of that by keeping him from a wide starting position to move into those areas. That's why he plays at right back, because there's space within Klopp's system, and Klopp's system really needs players who can win the ball back in midfield. It's not to say that he can't do it. Maybe he can develop into that over time. Maybe Klopp will change the profile of his midfield going forward. That's very likely in the summer when they buy all new players. But Alexander-Arnold is a brilliant player, one of the most creative players in Europe. And so the best way to get that out of him is not to play him in midfield, it's to play him at right back.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.